My Lords, the Government consulted on several issues regarding copyright and AI, and that consultation closed on the 25th of February. Over 11,500 responses were received. We welcome this significant engagement from across the creative and AI sectors. Our priority must be now to analyse the evidence that has been submitted, and proposals will be set out in due course, including a fuller breakdown of the types of respondent that we have received.
I'm very grateful to my noble friend the Minister for that answer, and declare my interest as an author, like many members of your Lordship's House. Does my noble friend agree that the intellectual property of creatives in this country is no less precious or important than the intellectual property of tech companies, who have, frankly, already been scraping the internet for creative work and ripping these people off? So wherever policy lands in the future as a result of the consultation, will the government consider offering assistance to creatives, many of whom are really not very well off, to ensure that they have restitution for the grand theft that has already been perpetrated?
My Lords, of course the Government recognise the concerns that many in the creative industries have about the potential impact of AI on that sector. This is why we want to act now to give UK creators greater control over their works and have more transparency about how their work is being used, as well as creating the ability for them to be paid for it. That's exactly what the proposals in our consultation aim to achieve. But, my Lords, I should say that this is a complicated area because AI adoption also has the potential to drive growth across the economy, including in the creative industries, so that, for example, 38% of creative industry businesses are already using AI technologies. So it's a complicated area, but we know that we have to find a solution, and we know that we have to protect the interests of creatives in the future in the way that the noble lady has alerted us.
My Lords, the Government intends to take out the transparency amendments brought by my noble friend Baroness Kidron in the Data Use and Access Bill. So what provision is the Government going to make to ensure that creatives know that their copyrighted work has been pirated by AI models so that they can then take action?
My Lords, the Government agrees with many of the points made during the debate on the data bill and in other discussions in this House that further transparency is needed from AI developers about their use of web crawlers and the materials that they use to train their models. However, we have got a consultation out, and it would be premature to commit to specific legislation until we've analysed the responses to that consultation and heard all of the voices in this sector. Nevertheless, I can assure the noble Lord that we intend to resolve this issue. It's an issue that the previous government failed to resolve, and we need to resolve it now. So we will take action as soon as the consultation has been analysed and resolved.
So there's been widespread concern that the Secretary of State in the Noble Ladies Department has been very happy to meet representatives of big tech and AI firms, but less willing to meet representatives of our thriving but threatened creative industries. Of course, in due course, his meetings will be published through the Government's quarterly transparency returns. But given how germane this is to a contentious area of policy currently under discussion, will she give consideration to publishing that list of meetings sooner?
My Lords, that information will be, as the noble Lord knows, published in the normal way. But what I would say is that the Minister for AI and Digital Government and the Minister for Creative Industries, Art and Tourism have been extremely active in engaging on this subject. They've held round tables with the creative industries and the AI sector during the consultation. And it is a joint consultation, so it's DCMS and DCIT. This morning, the Secretary of State for DCIT explained that, and he also said, of course, that he's open to meetings with the creative sector. So all of that is on the table. There is no problem about dialogue, about engagement, and that will go on in the next few months as well, while we seek to find a solution to this issue.
Regardless of whatever future plans are brought forward, Will the noble lady confirm that if the outcome of current challenges show that our current IP regime is legal, that the government will provide assistance to those creators whose IP has been stolen on an industrial scale by AI companies?
The noble lord is right that this is a complicated copyright area, and there are some legal cases in the offing. It is a complicated area and needs a holistic approach. So our view is that addressing the issue in isolation won't provide sufficient legal charity or resolve the issue in the way that I think that most noble lords would expect. The consultation will help guide us on this issue, and I do urge noble lords to await the outcome of that consultation, which I hope will provide some solutions.
My lords, despite what the Minister says, there is a basic concern about this issue, of the framing of this issue by the government and their perceived need for a balance between the tech companies and the creative industries, and the logic of that in terms of the need for someone to give something up. But I ask the Minister, should any side have to give up something that is already theirs morally and in law, namely work made by artists and whose copyright is therefore held by them? This is not about balance, it is about rights.
The noble lord is right, and we are trying to find a way to ensure that those rights are upheld. But it is about all these sectors need to grow in our economy. The AI sector, and as I was just explaining, the creative sector use AI, so it's not a simple us and them situation. AI is increasingly being used by all sectors across our economy. But we do need to find a way through it which rewards the creators in the way that the noble lord has outlined, and I think we all understand.
My lords, I recognise, of course, that the task of analysing the results of the consultation still needs to go ahead. But that said, does the noble lady, the Minister, agree with us that digital watermarking is going to be a key component of the solution to the AI and copyright issue? And if so, what does she make of the number of digital watermarking solutions that are now coming to market? Is this, in her view, something to be welcomed, or should we be pursuing a single standard for digital watermarks?
The noble lords made an important point about watermarks, and that is certainly one solution that we're considering. The issue of transparency is absolutely crucial to the outcome of this issue, and watermarks certainly would help with that. I don't have a view as yet about whether we should have one or many, but I'm hoping that the consultation will give us some guidance on that.
My Lords, the Minister's right when she says that AI is extensively used in the creative industries and in the music industry, and has been for a long time, as a servant, not as a master of creatives. And isn't this an opportunity to look at those companies like Darcy, D-A-A-C-I, who actually try to use AI in an ethical way, which ensures that creators are rewarded for their input?
Well, I thank my noble friend for that proposal, and again I would say that all of these I hope that they will contribute to the consultation, or they have contributed to the consultation, because these are exactly the sorts of standards that we want to achieve. We want to make sure that creators get the right rewards. That's certainly our intention through this consultation. We need to find a way through this. We're working very hard, and we won't give up until we have found a way to resolve the issue.
My Lords, the Earl Clancarty, the Noble Lord Foster, and the Noble Baroness Lady Chakrabarti have all pointed out the way in which big tech has already stolen large amounts of property. Had that property been cash or gold, we surely would be getting a different reaction from the government. Yet it's actually the same thing. So I've got a constructive way to help the noble lady suggestion to help the noble lady out of this. How about a universal basic income for the creative sector as compensation?
Nice
Yes. I thank the noble lady for her helpful suggestion, and hopefully she will have fed that into the consultation, and I'm sure it will be considered as one of the many proposals for resolving this issue.
Lords, has His Majesty's Government received representations, formal or informal, on this subject from the Government of the United States? And if so, will they publish the substance of those representations?
To my knowledge, we have not received any representations at the moment from the government, and I'm sure any such discussions which do take place will become public very quickly.